My name is Calista Row, and in Austin, people used to tell me my voice sounded like broken glass catching the sun. Not pretty, not clean, but impossible to ignore. I'm 27, and for the last 4 years, I've lived inside the indie music ecosystem off East 6th. Warehouse studios, midnight sessions, thrift store amps, and a network of musicians who survive on caffeine, hope, and the thin chance that one song might change everything. I wasn't trying to be famous. I just wanted my sound to feel like mine. But I guess that's exactly why the betrayal cut as deep as it did. The night it happened, Austin felt like a furnace left open. Hot wind, streetlights humming. The kind of night that makes music feel heavier, like every note is dragging heat behind it. I was walking toward Night Heron's studio, the place where I recorded every track that mattered. Inside was Rowan Vale, the sound engineer everyone described as quirky genius, misunderstood, temperamental in a lovable way. In reality, he was a man with god-complex hands and a messy halo of headphones around his neck. But he understood my sound. At least, I thought he did. We'd spent 6 months working on my EP, Glass Rituals, 6 tracks, all mine. My melodies, my lyrics, my fingerprints pressed into every harmony. As I reached the studio door, I noticed something off. No lights, no glowing interface screens, just darkness and the low hum of a computer cooling. My stomach tightened. "Rowan!" I called, pushing open the door. He didn't answer, but the computer did. A single monitor blinking awake with an empty project timeline. Empty. Completely wiped. My breath shallow, I click through folders, session files, backups. Nothing. Not a single track. "What the hell?" I whispered, choking on the heat creeping up my throat. Every file, every take, every layered harmony. Gone. Deleted. Panic crawled up my spine, then footsteps behind me. I turned. Rowan stood there holding a cold brew like it was just another night. "Oh," he said casually. "You found out. Where are my files?" He raised an eyebrow, almost amused. "Relax, Cal. They're not your files. They're mine. My work, my production, my intellectual property." I felt my jaw lock. "You're the engineer, I'm the artist. Those songs are mine." He sipped his drink, shrugging. "Were. Past tense." I stared at him, pulse hammering in my ears. "What did you do?" Rowan's smile chilled me. "I cleaned up. Started a new project. Same melodies, same structure, but with a real vocalist this time. Someone who can deliver consistently." It felt like he reached into my chest and snapped something. "You re-recorded my EP?" My voice cracked, unbelieving. "Not yours anymore," he replied. "And before you go threatening me, everything was saved on my workstation, my contracts, my DAOU, my system. Legally, you have nothing." I stepped back. He stepped closer. "You should take it as a compliment," he whispered. "Your ideas were good enough to upgrade." "Upgrade?" I spat. "You stole them." He laughed softly. "Call it curation." Something inside me, something quiet, something naive, finally died. I ran out of the studio, out into the heat-drenched parking lot, my breath shaking, vision blurring. My EP wasn't just music, it was my life, the sound of every wound I'd survived, every night I'd held myself together, every part of me I wasn't strong enough to say out loud. And he erased it like clearing crumbs off a table. I didn't go home, I couldn't. Instead, I wandered downtown, half alive, half angry, fully shattered. I ended up at Ladybird Lake, staring at the water as it glowed under the city lights. "How stupid am I?" I whispered to no one. The wind didn't answer. The water didn't either. But my phone did. A notification lighting up the screen. A video, posted by Rowan. I opened it. There he was in the studio, grinning, announcing his upcoming EP, the one with my melodies, my chord progressions, my titles twisted into new names. And standing beside him, a woman with perfect makeup, perfect posture, and a perfect voice he kept praising. "This is the vocalist for the project," Rowan said in the video. "She brings my vision to life." My vision. My hand started trembling. I clicked the comment section. People were already calling him a genius, a visionary, a prodigy with groundbreaking melodies. Melodies I wrote on my bedroom floor at 3 a.m. when my chest hurt too much to sleep. My eyes burned. My breathing turned uneven. Then I paused the video. Rewound. Listened again. Carefully, painfully. Underneath his polished track, something faint. Something familiar. A background vocal, a rough rehearsal take. My voice. He hadn't completely deleted me. He just buried me under someone else. That realization hit like lightning. He didn't just steal my work. He used pieces of me to build his lie. And in that moment, something cold and razor-sharp formed inside me. Not fear, not shock. Resolve. I wiped my face, exhaled slowly, and whispered, "Fine, if he wants a war, he'll get one. But war needs a plan, a weapon, a spark." And seconds later, my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "Calista, I need to talk to you. It's about Rowan." My blood froze. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, the city lights reflecting off the water like shattered glass. Whoever this was, they knew something. And it might be the one thing I needed. I opened the message. Then everything changed. The message sat on my screen like a loaded weapon. "Calista, I need to talk to you. It's about Rowan." No name, no context, just a warning wrapped in urgency. For a long moment, I didn't move. I just stood there by the lake, city lights glinting across the water like broken shards, my breath trapped somewhere between rage and fear. Whoever sent that message knew enough to contact me, and if they knew something about Rowan, maybe they knew how deep his betrayal went. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I typed one word. "Who?" The reply came almost instantly. "Meet me at Violet Crown, 20 minutes. Booth in the back. Don't bring Rowan." My pulse jumped. I looked around instinctively, half expecting Rowan to step out from behind a tree, half expecting this to be some elaborate setup. But something inside me said, "Go." Maybe desperation, maybe instinct, maybe the last flicker of hope I hadn't managed to kill yet. I forced my legs to move. Violet Crown was one of downtown Austin's quieter bars, dim lights, velvet booths, and a jukebox that played vinyl tracks instead of digital ones. The kind of place where musicians went to hide from their own failures. I walked in, heart pounding. The back booth was half-shadowed. A woman sat there, hood up, fingers tapping anxiously on the table. When she looked up, I recognized her. Barely. She was the perfect vocalist from Rowan's announcement video. But without camera lighting, she looked human. Eyes tired. Makeup smudged. Hands shaking. She gestured for me to sit. "You're Calista," she whispered. "And you're the thief's new star." I snapped without sugarcoating. She winced. "I know how it looks, but that's why I asked you here." She swallowed hard. He lied to me too. I crossed my arms. "Start talking." She glanced around the room like she was afraid someone would drag her out by the hair. "My name is Lyra," she said quietly. "Rowan told me the tracks were his compositions. He said he needed a cleaner voice to bring them to life. I didn't know they were yours." I didn't respond. Not yet. She fidgeted. "He gave me sheet music with no credits, just chords and lyrics typed out like a demo guide." "And you didn't question that?" "I did," she whispered. "And when I did, he said the original singer quit the project and didn't want her name attached anymore. He made it sound legitimate." My jaw tightened. Rowan was always good at half-lies, twisting the truth just enough to make people doubt themselves. But hearing it from her didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made the violation feel bigger. "He used your rehearsal takes," she added. "Pieces of your voice are all over the stems." I froze. "You heard them?" She nodded. "That's how I realized something was off. Your tone. It's different. Raw. Textured. Impossible to replicate." She paused. I confronted him, and he lost it. "How bad?" "He smashed a mic stand. said I was ruining his process. Then he locked me out of the studio for the night. I inhaled sharply. Yeah, that sounded like Rowan. Lyra leaned in. Calista, he didn't just steal your EP, he's pitching it to a label. A real one. They think he wrote everything. My stomach dropped. What label? North Shore Records. My body went cold. North Shore wasn't some tiny indie distributor. They were a gateway. Sync deals, festival slots, playlisting. If Rowan convinced them the EP was his, he'd bury me forever. And worse, he'd be praised for my sound. I swallowed hard. Why are you telling me this? Lyra looked down at her trembling hands. Because I don't want to be part of a lie, and because... Her voice cracked. He scares me. A beat of silence hung between us. The same fear I felt around him. She felt it too. She reached into her bag. I stole something from the studio before he kicked me out. She slid a flash drive across the table. I didn't touch it. What's on this? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Security footage, audio logs, time-stamped session files, proof that you wrote everything, and proof of what he deleted. My chest tightened. Why give it to me? Because if I keep it, he'll find it, she whispered. But if you use it, maybe you can stop him. The weight of the flash drive stared at me like a lifeline. And a weapon! I slowly placed my fingers on it, and the moment I did, the air between us shifted. This wasn't just about stolen music anymore. This was about exposing a fraud before he rose high enough to crush me from above. Lyra looked up, eyes wide with something bordering on guilt. There's more, she said weakly. Something I think you should know. I braced myself. Rowan told the label your voice was too unstable, she whispered. He said you had mental health problems, that you were unreliable, that you couldn't handle pressure. My heart twisted. That's how he erased me, I murmured. Not just by deleting my tracks, but by assassinating my name. She nodded, tears forming. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't know who to believe. I stared at the flash drive in my hand, a cold, metallic truth. Everything I needed to destroy him might be inside it. But using it would mean stepping into a war he'd fight dirty. Very dirty. Before I could respond, a loud crash erupted at the front of the bar, a glass shattering against the floor. People gasped, bartenders froze, and I turned just in time to see Rowan, standing in the doorway, eyes locked on me, breath uneven, sweat on his forehead, like he had run here. His voice cut through the silence, sharp as a blade. Calista, we need to talk. Lyra grabbed my arm, terror flashing across her face. I stuffed the flash drive into my pocket. The entire bar held its breath. Rowan took one slow step forward. Now. The darkness in his voice made every nerve in my body scream. Because somehow, he knew I was here. And he knew I wasn't supposed to be. Rowan's presence hit the bar like a shockwave. Every conversation died. Every chair stopped moving. The entire room shrank around the three of us. Rowan in the doorway, me frozen in the booth, and Lyra gripping my wrist like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. His eyes weren't angry. They were worse. Controlled. Sharp. Like he'd arrived with a script already written. He took one more step. Calista, he said, voice disturbingly calm. You shouldn't be here. I forced myself to speak. I don't owe you explanations. His jaw twitched. That's not what I meant. Lyra's grip tightened. Rowan dragged his gaze toward her. And you, he said coldly, we'll deal with later. She shrank into the booth. Something inside me snapped. No, I said, standing. Whatever you want to say it here. He gave a slow, humorless smile. You think I care about an audience? The bar staff stared nervously. A couple near the pool table pretended not to watch. Rowan moved toward our booth, each step deliberate, like he wanted everyone to feel the intimidation radiating off him. I held still, refusing to look away. When he reached the table, he leaned forward, planting his hands on the edge. Calista, he murmured, you're sabotaging yourself. I almost laughed. By talking to someone who knows what you did? His eyes flashed, just for a second. Then the mask slipped back into place. You're stressed, he said. Confused. You and I both know you get overwhelmed easily. You misinterpret things. There it was. The gaslighting. The same tone he'd used during long recording sessions when I was exhausted, frustrated, cracking under pressure. Don't, I whispered. Don't what? He asked softly. Don't talk to me like you own the truth. Rowan inhaled slowly, trying to look patient. You're spiraling. I get it. The work meant a lot to you. But this… He gestured vaguely at Lyra. This is not the way to handle things. Lyra spoke for the first time, voice trembling. You stole her music. Rowan snapped his head toward her so fast she flinched. I don't recall asking for your opinion. I have proof, she stammered. His expression darkened, and I realized he didn't know about the USB. Not yet. But he suspected something. He could feel it, like an animal sensing danger. I stepped between them. You deleted my EP, I said. You re-recorded my melodies. You used my voice. And now you're pitching it to North Shore. He didn't deny it. He just stared at me like I was a child speaking nonsense. Calista, he sighed. The industry is brutal. You weren't ready. I saved the project. You mean your project? I corrected. He leaned closer. Exactly. My chest tightened. That was it. The truth behind all the manipulation. He believed he could rewrite reality simply by declaring something his. Rowan straightened, brushing invisible dust off his shirt. I'm giving you a chance to walk away gracefully. Don't ruin this for yourself. I clenched my jaw. What happens if I don't? He tilted his head. I'll make sure your reputation matches your instability. A quiet threat. A familiar one. She's not unstable, Lyra whispered. Rowan laughed, a short, sharp sound. You think I can't discredit both of you? He wasn't bluffing. I could see it in his posture, in the cold confidence that came from years of getting away with exactly this. Then Rowan's gaze drifted downward, to my pocket. The pocket holding the flash drive. His voice softened into something terrifyingly curious. What's that? My heartbeat spiked. None of your business. But it was too late. The shift in my expression gave him exactly what he needed. He stepped forward, reaching out. I jerked back. The entire bar tensed, ready for something to explode. Calista, he warned, hand it over. No. He took another step. Hand it over. Before I could react, Lyra jumped to her feet, positioning herself between us. Leave her alone. Rowan's facade cracked. In one swift motion, he grabbed her wrist. Hard. She gasped. I moved without thinking, shoving him, knocking his hand away. Don't touch her. Rowan stumbled back a half step, shock flashing across his face before fury devoured it. He lowered his voice to a deadly whisper. You're making a mistake. So are you, I shot back. Because now everyone in the bar was watching him. Not me, not Lyra. Him. And for the first time, I saw something behind his eyes. Not rage. Fear. Rowan wasn't afraid of violence or confrontation. He was afraid of being exposed. He leaned in close enough for me to feel his breath. You think you can fight me? He whispered. I know every weakness you have. You missed one, I said coldly. And what's that? I'm not afraid of you anymore. His eyes widened, just slightly, but enough. Enough to tell me the shift terrified him. Before he could speak again, the bartender finally intervened. Sir, you need to leave. Rowan's head snapped toward him, then toward everyone staring at him. His jaw clenched. His pride couldn't handle the spotlight. Not like this. Not when he couldn't control the narrative. He pointed at me. This isn't over. I know, I said. That's why you're scared. He turned sharply, storming out of the bar. The moment the door shut, a collective breath swept through the room. Lyra collapsed back into the booth, shaking violently. My hands trembled too. But inside my chest, something new was forming. Not just anger. Momentum. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, staring at it like it was a beating heart. This is enough to bury him, Lyra whispered. Maybe, I said, but I need to know what's really on it. At that moment, my phone buzzed. A new message. From an unknown number. We saw the video. We need to talk. Your EP isn't the only one he's taken. My blood froze. Another victim. Or maybe more than one. I looked at Lyra. She looked at me. Calista, she whispered, terrified. What did he do? I opened the message thread. My breath caught in my throat. There were 3 new messages. 3 different names. 3 different stories. All accusing Rowan of the same thing. And all ending with the same chilling line. You're not the first. And you won't be the last unless someone stops him. I felt the ground shift beneath me. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was justice. And Rowan had no idea what was coming. The air in Violet Crown felt thin after Rowan left, like the room had been holding its breath and finally exhaled. But I didn't feel relief, not even close. I felt that strange electric tension before a storm breaks, the moment when the sky holds its breath and the world goes quiet, waiting. 3 messages, 3 strangers, 3 victims, all pointing to the same monster wearing headphones and a smile. Lyra leaned toward me, voice trembling. What do they want? I stared at my phone screen glowing in the dim booth. We saw the video. We need to talk. Your EP isn't the only one he's taken. The words looked unreal, like something pulled from a horror script. I don't know, I whispered, but I'm going to find out. Lyra swallowed. What if it's a trap? What if Rowan? It's not him, I interrupted. Rowan wouldn't admit there were others. His ego wouldn't allow it. She nodded slowly, still unsure. I opened the first message thread. A woman named Daphne Meyer. Her profile picture. A mic in front of her. Guitar strapped across her body. Rowan rewired my stems, told the label I ghosted the project, took credit for every progression. I clicked the next one. A man named Kai Tamsin. He said my demos were amateur and wiped them from his system. 2 months later, he released a single with my exact arrangement. Then the last one. He did it to me too. I never had proof. But if you do, we'll back you. My chest tightened. This wasn't one stolen EP. This was a pattern. A trail of bodies left behind his career. Lyra covered her mouth with her hands. My God, he's been doing this for years. I nodded slowly, my brain piecing the truth together like broken glass rearranging itself into a blade. He steals from people who don't have the power to fight back, I said. People who don't have lawyers. People who won't be believed. Or people he can discredit, she added quietly. I put the phone down. We need help. The kind of help Rowan can't manipulate. Lyra blinked. Who? I didn't answer right away, because the person I was thinking of was someone I had sworn I'd never work with again. Someone whose attitude rubbed me raw. Someone whose honesty could cut bone. But also someone who hated frauds more than anyone else in Austin's scene. Arden? I said. Lyra frowned. Who's Arden? A producer, I replied. One of the best. Brutal, direct, annoyingly talented. And he has connections in every studio from here to Dallas. Do you trust him? The truth sat heavy on my tongue. No, but I trust that he hates people like Rowan. And sometimes, that was enough. Key. We left the bar out the side door, avoiding the front in case Rowan was lurking. The night felt colder than before, sharp wind cutting at my skin. When we reached the street, Lyra hugged herself. Where does this Arden guy work? A loft near Red River, I said, typing out a message. He runs live session videos and sound checks for half the indie scene. If anyone knows the legal side of this, it's him. And you think he'll help you? I gave a thin, humorless smile. Arden loves exposing thieves. He'll help just for the satisfaction. Before I finished speaking, my phone buzzed with his reply. If this is about Rowan, I'm awake. Get here, now. Lyra's eyebrows lifted. Wow, that was fast. He probably sensed drama, I muttered. We grabbed a rideshare and headed across Austin, streetlights blurring, the city feeling strange and unstable, like it knew something explosive was coming. As we drove, Lyra stared out the window. Calista, what if Rowan tries to retaliate? He already did, I said softly. But now he has more to lose than I do. She didn't argue, because she knew it was true. Arden's loft sat on the 3rd floor of a renovated warehouse, one of those cement and exposed brick places where creativity buzzed like static. We climbed the stairs and found the door cracked open, music humming inside. I knocked. A rough, tired voice said, Come in. We stepped into a dim room stacked with amps, cables, LED lights, and a massive mixing console. Arden stood behind it, arms crossed, wearing a hoodie and yesterday's exhaustion. He squinted at us. "You look like hell," he said bluntly. I shot him a stare. "Not important." He nodded once. "Good. Tell me everything." So we did. I told him about the deleted EP, the re-recordings, the video announcement, the flash drive, the messages from the other victims. By the time we finished, Arden looked less tired and more furious. "That son of a—" He cut himself off, pacing. I knew he was sketchy, but this? This is a pattern. This is intentional theft. Exactly, I said. Arden pressed his palms flat on the console. This isn't just a call-out. This is a case. You could take him down legally. Only if the flash drive has what Lyra says, I replied. Arden straightened. Then let's see. He motioned for me to hand it over. My hand hesitated. What's wrong? He asked. It feels like a trap, I admitted. Like the moment I open this, everything changes. Arden looked me dead in the eyes. It already changed, and he was right. I gave him the USB. He plugged it in. The drive opened on the screen. Folders, file names, timestamps. Arden's eyes widened. Holy! He clicked the first folder. Security footage came up. There was Rowan, sitting at the workstation, deleting layers, dragging entire vocal files into a trash bin, exporting new stems, copying my rehearsal takes. My pulse roared in my ears. That's him, Lyra whispered. That's him doing it. Arden opened another file, an audio log automatically recorded by the DAU. Rowan's voice filled the room. This is my project. She'll thank me later. She wasn't ready. My stomach twisted. If this gets out, Arden whispered, he's done. My throat tightened. Then we put it out. Not yet, Arden said. This is enough to expose him, but not enough to protect you. What do you mean? He turned the monitor toward me. Rowan will try to spin the narrative, make you look unstable, make Lyra look jealous, make the others look bitter. Lyra nodded slowly. He'll smear us. Arden stepped back from the console. You need something he can't twist. Something bigger than this. What? I asked. He answered without hesitation. A witness. Before I could respond, a knock echoed from the loft's entrance. We all froze. Another knock. Harder. Arden frowned, moving cautiously toward the door. Anyone expecting someone? He whispered. We shook our heads. He opened the door 1 inch, and a man pushed past him, stumbling into the room. A stranger, breathless, terrified. Are you Calista Row? He gasped. I stood. Yes. He swallowed hard. I'm one of Rowan's assistants. I quit tonight, and I have something you need to see. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black notebook. Not just any notebook. Rowan's, where he wrote everything. Session notes, credit changes, narrative planning, manipulation strategies, excuses to discredit artists. He held it out with shaking hands. He keeps everything in here, the assistant whispered. Everything he did to you, and everyone else. My breath stopped. Arden's eyes widened. Lyra covered her mouth, and the assistant added one more sentence, the one that broke the ground under all of us. He wasn't planning to stop with you. The assistant's words hung in the air like smoke from a gunshot. He wasn't planning to stop with you. For a moment, no one moved. Arden's jaw locked. Lyra's breath hitched. And I stood frozen, staring at the small black notebook in the assistant's shaking hands. The book that felt more dangerous than any weapon. Close the door, Arden said quietly. The assistant lunged back and slammed it shut, then leaned against it, chest rising and falling like he'd sprinted up the stairs. I finally found my voice. What do you mean he wasn't planning to stop? The assistant, mid-20s, hair messy, eyes wide with exhaustion and fear, ran a hand down his face. He has names, he whispered. A list. People he calls raw material. Artists he thinks are too naive or too desperate to fight back. A chill crawled up my spine. Where? I asked. He pointed at the notebook. It's all in there. Notes, targets, plans, excuses he'll use if something goes wrong. Rowan thinks 10 steps ahead of everyone. Arden snatched the notebook gently but firmly and flipped it open. The first page made him swear under his breath. There it was. Rowan's handwriting. Sharp, jagged strokes with the arrogance of someone who believed he was untouchable. Artist Narc 7. CR. Emotionally volatile. Easy to redirect. Will fold under pressure. Rework her melodies. Use her raw takes. Replace her vocals. My breath stilled. That was me. Reduced to shorthand. A strategy. A blueprint for theft. Lyra put a hand on my back. Calista, I'm so sorry, but I couldn't respond. Not yet. Because Arden was flipping to the next page. Artist number 8, LA. Strong voice, weak resolve. Discredit early. Offer exposure in exchange for stems. Lyra went pale. That's... Yeah, Arden muttered. It's you. She sank into the couch like her bones had liquefied. The assistant stepped forward, voice cracking. And page 9. Look at page 9. Arden flipped. My stomach dropped. 10 names. All real artists. All people I'd seen around Austin's indie scene, busking outside coffee shops, performing in basement venues, posting demos online with captions like, "Hope this helps someone." Beside each name were cold, tactical notes. Steal bridge, rewrite chorus, offer false mentorship, take credit. Undermine confidence, frame as collaboration. Discredit before release. Rewrite narrative online. Lyra whispered, horrified. He treats people like inventory. The assistant nodded miserably. I couldn't stay after I saw this. I had to do something. I felt sick. All the times Rowan had smiled at me, encouraged me, acted like he believed in my sound. None of it had been real. He had studied me the same way a hunter studies wounded prey. Arden closed the notebook with a sharp snap. This is lethal, he muttered. If this goes public, he's done. No spin, no PR magic, no fake apology video will save him. Then we release it, I said immediately. Arden turned toward me. His eyes were serious. Too serious. Not yet, I nearly shouted. Why not? We have the flash drive, the notebook. And he has connections, Arden cut in. Friends in studios, A&R reps who owe him favors, people who believe him because he's been manipulating them longer than he manipulated you. I clenched my fists. So what do we do? Arden paced, thinking fast. We need to build a wall of truth so big he can't kick it down. Testimonies, screenshots, session files, witnesses. He pointed at the assistant. Starting with him. The assistant straightened, swallowing hard. I'll testify, whatever you need. Lyra nodded. And I'll back her. I'll tell everything he did. Arden looked at me last. Calista, this only works if you lead it. Me. The girl Rowan said was too unstable, too emotional, too inexperienced. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger this time. Purpose. I nodded slowly. Okay, what's the plan? Arden exhaled and grabbed a notepad. We gather evidence. We interview the other victims. We build a unified story. And when the time is right, we drop everything in one coordinated hit. Socials, studios, labels, forums, blogs. A reckoning, Lyra murmured. A purge, Arden corrected. I stared at the flash drive glowing on the console, at the notebook full of lies, at these two strangers who were now allies, at the assistant who risked everything to hand me the truth. Rowan thought he could erase me, but instead, he had created something dangerous. A cause, a movement, a war. Before I could speak again, Arden's computer pinged. We all turned. A new notification, an automated alert from the building's security system. Motion detected, parking lot. Euro 2:14 a.m. One individual, attempting to access the building. Arden frowned. That's weird. No one should... But the camera feed popped up by itself, filling the screen. A grainy black and white view of the parking lot. A hooded figure, trying the door, then circling the building, then looking up. straight at the camera, my blood iced. Because even through the blurry pixels, I recognized the posture, the way he tilted his head, the impatient twitch in his shoulders, the shape of him. Rowan. He was out there, looking for us, looking for me. Lyra covered her mouth. The assistant stepped backward. Arden cursed under his breath. I stared at the screen, heart slamming against my ribs. Rowan backed up a few steps. Then his hand reached into his jacket. Slowly, deliberately. He pulled something out. A keycard. Arden's complexion drained. That's my keycard. How the hell? Suddenly the feed glitched. Static. Black. Then, access granted flashed across the monitor. The front door lock clicked. Footsteps echoed down the concrete hallway outside. Closer, steadier, too calm. Arden grabbed the nearest heavy object, an amp pedal. Lyra's breath turned into tiny, terrified gasps. I didn't move. I couldn't. Because I could feel it. That storm finally breaking. A shadow passed the frosted glass panel beside the loft door. A silhouette I knew too well. Then, a single knock. Slow, intentional, like he already owned the room. Calista! Rowan's voice drawled from the hallway. Open the door? The knock wasn't loud, which somehow made it worse. Rowan didn't need force. He used confidence like a weapon. Soft knocks, steady voice, calm breathing. Tools of a man convinced he already owned the room behind the door. Calista, he said again, voice smooth enough to slip under the door. Open up. We need to clear the air. Arden raised the amp pedal like a brick. Lyra shrank behind the console. The assistant backed toward the far wall, shaking. And I didn't move. Because fear wasn't the thing I felt anymore. It was something colder, sharper. Like a blade forged inside my ribs. Rowan knocked a second time. Cal, he drawled. Don't make this difficult. Arden whispered to me without taking his eyes off the door. We can't let him in. He saw the feed. He knows we know something. The assistant's voice cracked. He's not supposed to be here. He shouldn't even know this place. He shouldn't know anything. Arden muttered, jaw tight. Unless someone told him. We all stared at each other. The implication hit like a punch. Was someone feeding him information? A friend? A collaborator? Another victim who was too afraid to stay on our side? My chest tightened. I didn't want to think about it. But Rowan seemed to sense our silence because he chuckled through the door. Don't overthink it, he said lightly. I have a lot of friends in this city. People who worry about me. People who warn me when misinformation starts spreading. Misinformation. The word slithered into the room. Lyra whispered. He's already spinning the story. Rowan continued, almost sounding bored. Calista, you know how emotional you get. You're surrounded by people who thrive on drama, people who will use you. Just open the door and we'll talk like professionals. Let me help you. Help! The way he said it made my skin crawl. Arden moved silently to the light switch, turned it off. The loft fell into deeper shadows, safer, but more dangerous. Rowan tapped the door with his knuckles, casual and patient. I'm not leaving, he said. Not until we talk. My pulse hammered, then slowed. Because suddenly I realized something crucial. He wasn't here to talk. If all he wanted was conversation, he could have called, texted, emailed. He could have waited until morning. But Rowan had come in the middle of the night, stolen a keycard, accessed a building illegally, and hunted us down. This wasn't a discussion. It was an attempt to regain control. And he was unraveling. Calista, he said more firmly, I know you're scared. I stepped closer to the door, surprising even Arden. No shaking. No stutter in my breath. Just clarity. I spoke low enough for only the people inside the loft to hear. I'm not scared of him, Arden whispered back. Good. But let's not trigger him into breaking the door. The assistant shook his head frantically. He's dangerous when cornered. A sudden thud hit the door, cutting him off. Not a knock, not a kick. A frustrated slam of Rowan's palm. His voice shifted. No more calm. No more polite patience. Calista, he snapped. Open the damn door. Lyra gasped quietly. Arden raised the pedal higher. I pressed my palm against the door. Not opening it, just grounding myself. I could feel the vibration of Rowan's breathing through the wood, and I understood something in that instant. He was scared. Not scared of me, scared of losing everything he built on lies. Scared of the evidence we now possessed. Scared of the victims connecting. Scared his narrative was slipping. He hit the door again, harder. "This is ridiculous," he barked. "You don't know what's on that drive. You don't know what that assistant stole. You're making assumptions. You always do. I cut him off. "Rowan." Silence. A thick, dangerous silence. Then a low, almost trembling exhale. To Calista. I stepped even closer. "You're done." The words were quiet, but they hit like gunfire. On the other side of the door, Rowan stopped breathing for half a second. Then, he laughed. Not the casual laugh from the bar. This one sounded brittle, unhinged. "Done?" he echoed. "You think you're going to ruin me? With what? Rumors? Angry DMs? A few bitter artists who couldn't cut it?" Arden growled. "Oh, he's losing it." Rowan's voice sharpened. "You don't understand the industry, Cal. I do. You don't know how dirty it gets. You don't know what I had to do to get this far." He slammed the door again. "You don't know what I can do." I lowered my hand, because I finally knew exactly how to break him. Not through fear, through truth. I spoke clearly, every word a blade. "I have your notebook." Everything stopped. No breathing, no footsteps, nothing. Just dead, suffocating stillness. Then Rowan whispered, harsh, cracking, terrified. "You don't understand what you're holding." Arden mouthed silently. "Yes, we do." The assistant nodded. Lyra squeezed my arm. But Rowan kept talking, voice dropping to something desperate. "You don't get it. You don't know who else is involved. You don't know what they'll do if—" He cut himself off abruptly. We all exchanged quick, alarmed glances. Arden whispered, "Who's they?" Before anyone could ask again, Rowan's voice returned, colder, almost pleading. "Calista, give me the notebook, please. Whatever you want, just give it to me. You don't know what's at stake." I felt ice slide down my spine. He wasn't asking for the EP, not the files, not the stems. The notebook, meaning the notebook contained something bigger than theft. A secret he wasn't supposed to write. Names he wasn't supposed to expose. Plans tied to people who weren't just musicians. Arden's eyes widened as the pieces clicked. "He wasn't working alone," he whispered. But Rowan heard him and hissed through the door. "Shut up. You don't know anything." The assistant stepped forward, trembling. "He wrote things he wasn't supposed to," he muttered. "He documented meetings, conversations, promises, people who gave him leverage." "People?" I repeated. He nodded once. He wasn't just stealing music. He was... Suddenly the hallway went dark. Not dim. Dark. The security lights flickered, then died. Arden swore under his breath. He cut the power. Then, the loft door handle moved. Slowly. Silently. Someone on the outside was turning it. Not Rowan. Someone heavier. Someone wearing gloves. The assistant stumbled backward. "Oh God," he whispered. "He brought them." I stared at the shadow beneath the door. 2 sets of feet. Not 1. 2. Rowan's voice slipped through the darkness, colder than I had ever heard it. "Calista, open the door. Now. You're in danger, and I'm the only one who can keep you alive." Rowan's words echoed through the dark hallway, unnervingly calm for someone who'd just cut the power to an entire floor. "I'm the only one who can keep you alive." Arden mouthed, "He's bluffing." But the assistant shook his head violently. "No," he whispered, voice cracking. "He's not. He's telling the truth." The air in the loft tightened. Thick, suffocating, metallic. Like the moment before a wire snaps. 2 sets of feet stood on the other side of the door, their shadows pooling beneath the frame like spreading ink. Lyra clutched my arm, voice almost silent. "Calista, who are they?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. But Rowan did. And that terrified me more than anything. He spoke again, voice dangerously low, no longer trying to pretend to be calm. "Calista, listen to me. Walk away from the notebook. Walk away from the drive. Open the door and I can fix this. But if you think you can fight them, he stopped himself. Them. The word hung like a blade. Arden whispered, "We need to barricade the door." But the assistant shook his head harder. No. No, no, no. If we barricade it, they'll break it. You can't stop people like them with a piece of furniture. People like what? Arden snapped. The assistant's lips trembled. The ones Rowan reports to. The room went silent. I felt my heartbeat drop into my stomach. Reports to? Lyra repeated in disbelief. You mean, he's not just doing this on his own? The assistant closed his eyes. There's a group. A collective of producers and engineers. They share raw material. Unfinished songs. Stolen drafts. Early demos. Rowan acts like the errand boy. He scouts the talent. He catalogs weaknesses. He hands over anything valuable. Arden cursed. Are you telling me this is an organized operation? The assistant nodded miserably. And the notebook, he swallowed, contains names of members, plans, meetings, timing. Rowan wasn't supposed to write any of it down. But he did. Because he wanted credit if it blew up. He wanted to prove he wasn't just a middleman. Lyra whispered, horrified. He kept the receipts. For clout. The assistant looked at me. He broke their rules. That notebook puts him in danger too. If you release it, you won't just destroy Rowan. You'll expose the whole network. A cold shiver sliced down my spine. Behind the door, Rowan inhaled sharply. Calista, you don't know what's coming. Arden clenched his fists, stepping toward the console. You said there were names in the notebook. Show us. I hesitated only a moment before flipping it open. The pages were cramped with scribbles, timestamps, arrows, coded phrases. Arden leaned over my shoulder. He read the first name. His expression darkened. Oh my God, he works with them? I flipped to the next. Then the next. Then stopped. Because my breath suddenly refused to move. Near the middle of the list, underlined twice. North Shore Records, A&R Liaison. Confirms ownership when needed. Lyra gasped. North Shore. The label he pitched your stolen EP to. I stared. My mouth felt dry. That means the label wasn't tricked, I whispered. They weren't manipulated. They were involved. The assistant nodded. They use artists like fuel. They get a catalog of ideas without having to sign the artist. No contracts, no royalties, nothing to protect anyone but themselves. My hands shook. Arden stepped back like the ground beneath him shifted. This is bigger than anything I thought. A loud metallic click snapped all our attention back to the door. Someone had inserted a tool, picking the lock from the outside. Rowan's voice lowered to a terrifying whisper. Last chance, Calista. My pulse roared in my ears. Arden grabbed the heavy mic stand. Lyra grabbed my hand. The assistant backed into a corner, covering his head as if expecting an explosion. But something inside me steadied. Because for the first time, the danger wasn't abstract. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't a broken EP or a stolen melody. It was real. Physical. This was what Rowan had been protecting. Not his career, but the people behind it. I looked toward the door. I won't give you the notebook, I said. A low exhale shuddered through the wood. Calista, don't do this. You stole my work, I said. You destroyed me. You lied about me. You used my voice. But this, I held up the notebook. This is the truth. And I'm done being quiet. For the first time, Rowan's voice cracked. Please. I froze. It wasn't anger. It wasn't manipulation. It was fear. Not fear of being exposed. Fear of something behind him. Lyra whispered, He's scared of them, Cal. Arden stepped closer, tightening his grip on the mic stand. The lock on the door clicked again. Closer. Faster. Expert hands. The assistant whispered, If they get in, we're all targets, not just Rowan. Rowan's voice rose sharply. Calista, open the door, you don't understand. His sentence cut off when heavy boots stepped directly in front of the threshold. The lock clicked. One final time. The handle turned. Slowly. Deliberately. Lyra squeezed my hand so tightly it went numb. I moved instinctively, pulling everyone back, deeper into the loft, away from the line of fire. The door opened 2 inches, then 4, then 6, revealing only darkness beyond it. Arden raised the mic stand like a weapon. The assistant choked on a breath. Rowan stumbled backward into view, pale, sweating, eyes wide with dread. He wasn't looking at us. He was looking over his shoulder, at something behind him, something stepping closer. A voice drifted from the hallway, smooth, calm, unfamiliar. "Mr. Vale, you were told to keep your hands clean." Rowan shook his head frantically. I can fix this. Just give me a minute, I can— No? The voice was ice. "Time's up." Rowan's eyes snapped to mine, filled with desperation. "Calista, run!" Before I could react, a gloved hand shoved the door fully open, and a tall figure stepped inside the loft. No expression, no hesitation, no intention of negotiation. Just a single chilling sentence directed at all of us. "Hand over the notebook." The man who entered the loft moved with a precision that didn't belong to the music world. No creative swagger, no artistic chaos, no emotion. Just cold professional efficiency. His boots made no sound on the concrete. His gloves gleamed under the faint emergency lights. He scanned the room once, slow, deliberate, until his eyes landed on me, on the notebook in my hand. Rowan stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a cable, voice cracking. Wait. She doesn't understand the protocol." The man didn't even look at him. "I didn't address you, Mr. Vale." Rowan went silent instantly, and that terrified me more than any threat could. Arden held the mic stand like he was ready to swing. Lyra clutched my elbow, shaking. The assistant pressed himself to the far wall, whispering prayers under his breath. The stranger stepped closer. "Hand over the notebook." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried that kind of weight. The kind that makes your bones want to obey before your brain catches up. My heart hammered once, hard, and then everything inside me went perfectly still. "No." The word left my mouth before I fully realized I'd said it. His head tilted slightly, a predator recalibrating. "You don't understand what you're holding," he said. I kept my fingers tight around the notebook. "I understand exactly what it is." "Then you know this isn't negotiable." "It is for me?" Behind him, Rowan whispered desperately, "Please, don't force this. She'll give it back. I can talk to her." The man finally turned to him. The look he gave Rowan was enough to cut the air. "You've done enough talking." Rowan flinched. The man turned back to me. "Calista Row." Hearing my full name in that ice-flat tone sent a shiver up my spine. "You're interfering with internal operations you do not comprehend." I lifted my chin. My EP was stolen. My voice was stolen. My name was dragged through the mud. I understand everything I need to. He took one more step. "Give me the notebook." "Why?" "You're not cleared." I almost laughed. "Cleared? I'm not in your organization." "No, but your name is now in play." My grip tightened. "What does that mean?" His eyes narrowed. "It means you are compromised, and liabilities must be handled." Lyra inhaled sharply. Arden swore under his breath. The assistant whimpered. I stared at the man, feeling my voice drop to a whisper. "You're threatening to kill me." He didn't blink. "I am saying that removing the object eliminates the need for further adjustments." Further adjustments? Meaning Rowan wasn't the only one they had adjusted. A chill slid under my skin. Arden stepped forward, placing himself between the man and me. "Nobody's touching her." The man didn't bother to face him. "You will move. Now." Arden didn't move. Neither did I. The man exhaled through his nose, slow, impatient. "Very well." He raised a gloved hand. I tensed. But Rowan lurched forward, grabbing the man's wrist. "She's not the enemy. Don't do this. Please." The man didn't hesitate. He slammed Rowan into the wall so hard the entire loft shook. Rowan crumpled, gasping. Lyra screamed. The assistant covered his head. Arden swung the mic stand. But the man dodged it like he had rehearsed the movement 1,000 times. He twisted Arden's arm, forcing him to drop the stand, then kicked it across the room. Arden groaned, clutching his shoulder. The man stepped over him without care. I backed up, clutching the notebook to my chest. He advanced. 1 step, 2, 3. His lack of emotion was worse than anger. He was a machine wearing human skin. A tool. A cleaner. And I was his assignment. He stopped a foot away from me. Last time, hand it over. My hands shook, but not with fear. With fury. No. His jaw flexed. Then a sudden bang cracked through the room. Not a gunshot. Metal on metal. The sound of something being dropped, hard. The man snapped his head toward the noise. Arden, bleeding from his lip, had dragged himself to the console and slammed his palm onto a glowing button. The room filled with a soft beep. A recording beep? Arden smirked through the pain. I just activated a full room capture, audio and video, cloud backup, real-time streaming. If anything happens to us, your face, your voice, everything you just said, it's already off-site. The man froze. Completely. Like someone had unplugged him. Arden wiped blood from his mouth. So, unless you want your entire operation going viral by sunrise, I'd rethink your next move. Lyra's breath caught. The assistant whispered, "Holy shit!" The man slowly lowered his hand. His voice changed, not calmer, but sharper. "You are making a grave mistake." Arden shrugged. "Get in line." The man looked at me again. This time, there was no threat. Just calculation. Something had shifted. He wasn't in control anymore. I held the notebook tighter. "We're not giving this up." The man inhaled, exhaled, then said the words that made every muscle in my body lock. "Then you'd better prepare, because you've just declared war." He stepped back toward the door. But before leaving, he looked at Rowan, still pressed against the wall, shaking. "You, come with me." Rowan's face drained of color. No, please. I can still fix." The man grabbed his arm. Rowan stumbled. "Wait, Calista, don't let them." He was yanked out into the hallway. The door slammed behind them, leaving the loft in a suffocating silence. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, Arden turned to me, face pale beneath the blood and bruises. "Calista!" His voice was barely a whisper. What did you put us in the middle of?" I looked at the door, then at the notebook in my shaking hands. Then at my friends, my allies, the people now tangled in this with me. And I said the only truth left. Something we can't run from. My phone buzzed suddenly. One new message. Unknown number. "If you still have the notebook, you need to leave Austin. Tonight." The message on my phone pulsed like a heartbeat. "If you still have the notebook, leave Austin tonight." Arden read it over my shoulder, face tightening. Lyra whispered, "Calista, are we really in danger?" Yes. The truth was yes, but I didn't want to say it out loud. Not yet. Instead, I slid the phone into my pocket and looked around the loft. The cracked mic stand. The overturned cables. The shadows still trembling from the confrontation. "We can't stay here," Arden said firmly. "They know the building. They know our faces." The assistant nodded, pale as paper. Lyra grabbed my hands. "What do we do?" For a moment, everything inside me twisted. Fear, adrenaline, grief, fury. Then something clicked. Not a spark. A fuse. "We finish what Rowan tried to stop," I said. "We expose them." Arden stared at me like I'd said something impossible. Expose a criminal network with industry connections? Calista, this isn't just about music anymore. "I know," I said. And I did. This wasn't about fame, or revenge, or a stolen EP. It was bigger, darker, rooted in the shadows of an industry I once thought was shaped by talent and passion. But now I saw its teeth. Arden rubbed his temples. "You'll need a plan, and protection." "I have both," I said. All three looked at me. I lifted the notebook. We released the entire thing. The messages, the recordings, the testimonies, the footage. We make it undeniable. Lyra blinked. "All at once?" "Yes, a total drop. A digital detonation." Arden exhaled. "Like set the whole machine on fire." "Exactly." The assistant stepped forward. "You'll make enemies." "I already have." He took a shaky breath. "Then, I'm with you." Arden nodded. "Me too." Lyra squeezed my arm. "Always." A small fire lit inside me. Not rage, not fear. Purpose. "We need someplace safe," Arden said. "Somewhere they can't track us for a few hours." He thought for a moment, then snapped his fingers. The old broadcast station on the east side, shut down years ago. No cameras, no digital access points, perfect dead zone. Let's go, I said. The broadcast station. The building looked like a skeleton of steel and dust, a forgotten relic. But inside, the walls were thick, the signals dead, the windows boarded. Safe. We set up Arden's mobile rig. Laptops, drives, mics, cables, like assembling weapons before a war. Okay, Arden said breathlessly. Files loaded, flash drive decrypted, we're ready. The assistant typed out the statements from each victim. Lyra prepared the timelines and receipts. Arden cross-checked metadata for authenticity. And I opened the notebook. Each page felt like peeling back a layer of rot. Names, dates, meetings, payments, plans to steal, manipulate, crush. And in the margins, Rowan's personal notes. CR. Emotional vulnerability. Access point. LA. Needs validation. Easy to redirect. DM. Rewrite bridge. Claim mentorship. KT. Discredit demo quality early. Each line was a knife. Lyra said softly. He studied us like we were prey. Yes, I whispered. And now he's the one hunted. Arden looked up. Ready? I swallowed. Roll it. The exposure. Arden pressed one key. Just one. And like a trigger pulled, emails blasted out, videos uploaded, recordings auto-posted, evidence distributed to every platform, every contact list, every journalist in the scene. A chain reaction. Unstoppable. The screen lit up. Upload complete distribution. Successful mirror servers active. Lyra gasped. The assistant shook. Arden exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for an hour. I felt nothing. Just a deep, heavy stillness. It's done, Arden said. But the moment he said it, the power in the station flickered. Lyra clutched my arm. Cal? The lights cut out. Pitch black. My heart stopped. Arden whispered. No. No. This place has no live grid. They shouldn't. A sound carried through the dark hall. Footsteps. More than one. Slow, heavy, deliberate. The same way the man from earlier had moved. But this time, more of them. A cold wave rolled over my skin. Shadows shifted near the broken doorway. Back up, Arden whispered. We moved behind the old broadcast table, crouching low. The footsteps grew louder. Closer. The assistant's voice broke. They shouldn't have found us. They shouldn't. Then a flashlight beam cut through the dark. Blinding, white, sweeping across the room like a blade. A voice followed. Not the man from the loft. A new one. Calista Row. Every part of me locked up. We have been instructed to retrieve the notebook. Lyra whimpered softly. Not again. Not this. Not now. But then, multiple phones went off at once. Arden's, Lyra's, the assistant's, mine. Notifications exploding nonstop. Pings, alerts, buzzing like a swarm. Arden grabbed his phone, looked at the screen, and his jaw dropped. Oh my God, he whispered. Cal, look. I pulled out my phone and froze. Every platform was blowing up. Chush glass rituals, Kash expose. The network. Artists deserve credit. Rowan Vale, Ash North Shore leak. Millions of views, hundreds of thousands of shares, breaking news alerts, statement requests, reposts from major artists, support messages from all over the country. Trending everywhere, Arden whispered, awestruck. The evidence spread too fast. They can't contain it. The network is exposed. People know. The men in the doorway hesitated, as if receiving live orders. One stepped toward us, then stopped. His earpiece buzzed. A pause. Then, abort mission. What? The other muttered. Orders changed. Immediate extraction. We're leaving. The flashlight turned away. Their boots retreated into the dark hallway. Then silence. Deep, cutting, real. Lyra dropped to her knees, sobbing with relief. The assistant covered his face. Arden sat back, shaking his head. And I finally breathed. Really breathed. For the first time in months. Arden looked at me, eyes softening despite everything. You did it. Lyra hugged me tightly. You saved us. You saved everyone he hurt. The assistant nodded through tears. He'll never get away with this again. I stood slowly, gripping the notebook. No, I whispered. He won't. Aftermath. Rowan Vale was arrested 2 days later. North Shore Records released a panicked statement. Investigations opened. Artists came forward. The network cracked, then crumbled, then burned. My EP, Glass Rituals, went viral in its raw form. The original rehearsal takes, the imperfect vocals, the broken glass emotion. People resonated with it because it was real, because it was mine. And finally, the world knew it. Rowan's notebook became evidence. Lyra's voice found a new community. Arden became a hero in the indie scene. The assistant testified and rebuilt his life. As for me, I rebuilt my EP from scratch. Every note a scar, every lyric a rebirth. And when I released it, under my name, the message was simple. Pain doesn't define me, but what I create with it does. The world listened. And this time, they heard me.